Hey, TDF.
Hi,
Oh my
TDF fans. This
goodness.
is
Thank you for joining this conversation.
my name is Conrad Ricamora. I play Ninoy Aquino in the Broadway production of Here Lies Love. I am a former tennis nerd turned theater nerd slash perpetual scared little gay boy listening to Janet Jackson in his bedroom.
Oh my goodness. I am Melody Butiu. I play Estrella Cumpas, who is Imelda's childhood nanny and childhood friend. And I am Filipina with my hair half up, half down. I'm in a navy blue shirt with some French doors in the background. I'm in my bedroom, and there's a dresser with some photos of some family members and some cards from loved ones behind me.
Oh, and I should say that my background is this is my dad and my stepmom in Paris in a picture behind me. And then just some different little knickknacks I've picked up from New York City in picture frames behind me. Yeah, this is a very different experience for us where we get to interview each other
I know, but we're just gonna chat and have a good time.
and be normal human beings.
That's right. We're not gonna be awkward at all.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to be in the Broadway production of Here Lies Love.
Oh, it was a long time coming. We
It
did
has
this,
been
we did this together 10 years ago at the
10
public.
years ago. Oh my goodness. We were baby babies.
I know. I now have a knee brace.
Oh, stop. Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
yeah, but we both did this show off Broadway at the public. And I don't know. I guess I never. I knew that you had done the concept or like a concert of the show in LA. But tell me more about how you got started with the show.
Yeah, I actually didn't do the concert. I auditioned to sing on, or I auditioned for a concert version that they were actually doing at the Adelaide Festival.
Okay.
So a friend of mine, Ralph Pena, sent me the breakdown of the characters, and I just felt this strong connection to Australia. And I thought, okay, I'm going to audition for this. I think I need to be doing this project. So I flew out to New York. This was 2005. So this was
Yeah.
before the production of the public was even an idea,
Yeah.
and David was still developing the project, and I got cast, and they flew me out, and I sang on the demos. So I
Wow.
sang on the demo recordings
Was
as he was
Jose even
writing it.
involved at this point, or was this
Not at that
before?
point.
Ah,
Yeah, the demos, there were, some other actors involved, including Ron Domingo, Angel Desai, so,
mhm,
we had sung on some of the demos, and then as the concert got closer, so this was the Adelaide Festival in Australia,
mhm.
um, they changed producers, they had a different budget, so, I ended up not actually going to Australia. But
Ah,
when the concept album came out in 2010, I believe, I got the album in the mail and I was thanked in the liner notes. And
oh
so
my God,
it
that's so
was really
cool.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as the show was being developed for the public, you had been involved in the third workshop, right?
Yep.
So my manager had reached out about the workshops, but it was always, oh, maybe not this time. Because I was living in Los Angeles, and so they
Yeah.
were looking just local actors. And so I did not do the workshops, but when the
Mhm.
production came up, I again flew out to audition, and full circle, I was able to do the original production.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
No,
you?
yeah, no, I was in my third year of grad school at the University of Tennessee, and I was reading the New York Times theater section, and I saw that they were developing a musical about Imelda Marcos and the Philippine People Power Revolution that was set to pop rock R&B music, and David Byrne and Alex Timbers were involved, and so I asked the head of our program if I could fly up to go to an open call and waited in line for the open call, not knowing what character. I think had even then, like you, I had read the breakdown for Ninoy, and was like, oh, I think I could do that. But then, yeah, just went to a general open call and then got called back the next day. And then they wanted me to come back the day after that, but I had to go back to school because I was doing a production of Kiss Me Kate. And but then I got it was a Wednesday. I was back in class and they called and offered me the part while I was in class. Yeah, and
That's so amazing.
yeah, and then just graduated like 2 months later, and then started the workshop, and then met you a year after that at the
Yeah.
public.
What was the workshop like for you?
Oh my gosh, it was crazy because it wasn't. We didn't do the workshop at a theater. We did it at an art museum called Mass Mocha,
Mhm.
which, I mean, if anybody has already seen our show, you know that the floor seats are not seats. There you stand. It's a dance club, so they've renovated a theater and turned it into a dance club. And yeah, that's like uh, that's what they did at this art museum in 2012 in Massachusetts. And it was wild. We had no idea what it was going to be. We were all just kind of like, you want us to stand on these moving platforms and sing these songs, and the audience is right next to us, and sometimes we're going to move through the audience. Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, it all just like I mean, luckily it's based on, you know, events that have already happened, so there is a beginning, middle, and I mean, and then you can debate whether there actually is an end yet, because the story is still evolving in
It's
real
still
time today.
open-ended. Yeah.
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 So yeah, we had to have a lot of trust in the creative team, and so that was interesting.
Totally. I mean, when I first found out, because the audition process, I think when I auditioned, it was like read this monologue, which wasn't actually part of the script, but it was
Yeah.
taken from the documentary Imelda by Ramona Diaz,
So
which is
good.
where they get the title "Here Lies Love" from, because
Yeah.
Imelda says she wants that on her tombstone. But it
Mhm.
was like this wacky, just kind of uh, stream of consciousness monologue, and
Yeah.
then the songs. So when I got it, I was like, yes,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like, I really had no idea. I was like, there was no script. I knew the songs that I sang in the audition, and the songs that I sang on the demo, but I was like, I really do not know what this is.
Yeah.
And when you think about it just on paper, an immersive disco musical about Imelda and the people power revolution, it doesn't seem to work on paper. But I just knew, like, I want to work with these people. I want to
Yeah.
work with these creatives. And like you said, there's this element of trust that makes you just kind of leap in. You're like, I don't know, but I think it's okay that I don't know what it is. And let's just jump
Yeah.
in.
Well, it's got to be. I wonder if the cast of Hamilton felt the same way when they're like, "We're doing a musical about the founding fathers that's going to be based in rap and hip hop."
Right. Totally.
Like,
Based on this, like,
what?
what is it, like a 900-page biography?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness. All
Oh
right.
yeah.
So
So
the next question is, Here Lies Love dramatizes the real life rise and fall of Imelda Marcos, the longtime First Lady of the Philippines. Did you already know the history, or did you do your own research?
oh, I didn't know the history at all. I think, like most people, because you know, I was a kid when this all happened. I heard about Imelda Marcos, but all I knew was the shoes.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, and then I knew that Corazon Aquino had come into power, but I thought we were all just celebrating because it was like the first female president. And I didn't know about the People Power Revolution or martial law, or that Ninoy was like assassinated, probably because I was so young.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's so yeah. I learned, this show taught me about my own history, about the history of the country that my father grew up and was immigrated from. I think that, I don't know, what was your experience?
I do remember Ninoy being assassinated and seeing that on the news.
Hmm.
I remember my family, my parents, my grandparents all gathered around the living room watching that happen and watching the fallout from it. And I remember Cory Aquino running for office. I remember all of those things being such a huge thing. And also, like, really being in the kind of zeitgeist, not that I would ever use that word when I was a child, but like, of the political awareness, even in popular culture. Like, I remember seeing Cory Aquino as a character on Saturday Night Live, played by Jan Hooks.
Oh, this is
And
ringing a bell. I need to go
and,
back.
and and so it's just like, I remember there was a big awareness in the world of what was going on at the time, and I do remember the reference to the shoes and watching, the citizens raid Malacanang Palace, and kind of the discovery of all of that and the excessive wealth. I didn't know all of the context, and I didn't know, like, when I was growing up, my parents didn't really talk about why we left, or why they left. I was born in the U.S. But they didn't talk about martial law, but that was what was happening at the time, and why so much of my family was immigrating to the U.S. So
Yeah.
working on the show and seeing the amount of research that David did,
Hmm.
seeing the amount of research that uh, that are, even this time around, that our producers put together, news clips,
Hmm.
newspaper articles, all kinds of um, uh, research that they have
Yeah.
on a website for us, and that's also available to anyone who wants to go to the show website.
And in the lobby of our show,
And in the yeah,
the dramaturgy on those screens. I mean, we had days of dramaturgy and background informational, rehearsals. Whole rehearsals were just dedicated to the history of the story that we were telling.
yeah,
And yeah, like it's great that we all get to learn it, because I think that was my experience as well. My dad didn't talk about his time in the Philippines, and I think a lot of our castmates have similar experiences where it's just not talked about.
yeah,
So it's nice to be able to get that education now.
yeah.
All right, next question. Here Lies Love is an immersive disco musical that invites theater goers to dance alongside the cast. What are some of your most memorable audience interactions?
Oh goodness. I mean, for me, the most impactful is towards the end, during the People Power Revolution, and we have our actors put up the Laban sign,
Mhm.
um, which in Tagalog means to fight, and it was kind of the symbol for the revolution. And to see audience members put the Laban sign up and join us in that, it's incredibly powerful to me. Like, those kind of audience reactions, and seeing Filipinos in the audience who know exactly what that means, is pretty
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with that, like the Filipino, like when Filipinos bring their kids as well, and then also members of every like racial group, like getting into the story, and throwing up those Laban signs. I also think that the time that Tyra Banks almost touched my butt,
Ah,
the public, when we couldn't figure out the fire alarms, and we had to like get out of the theater and then restart the show, and I was trying to jump back up on a platform, and I almost slipped, and she was going to push me up on help me
yeah.
up on my butt, and then she was like, oh. But she was just
Aw,
trying to help, and that was so nice.
her heart was in the right place. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tyra.
Okay,
That's
so scenic designer David Corrins completely transformed the Broadway theater for the show with a dance floor and moving set pieces. In this unique setup, have there been any amusing mishaps? Well, I think the one I just told about Tyra Banks was amusing. But do you remember any amusing mishaps?
amusing mishaps. I mean, every once in a while, there's, like, once in a a really great long while. They'll be like, "Oh, this bridge didn't close," or, and then actors are supposed to cross this bridge, and then they have to scramble, and they're running down the stairs, and they're running up the stairs, and like everyone's a little kind of
It's
discombobulated.
yeah, it's always hilarious for us when
Yes,
all the
and then it's like we're going, okay, where are we? Where are we? Just trying
yeah.
to like figure out how to get back on track. But those are just the kind of like little things that I think about. Trying to think what
Yeah,
else.
no, this past Sunday, I almost bit it trying to come down the stairs.
Stop.
Yeah, and then the first preview we had when the Wranglers were still like figuring out how to, the flow of the audience. My husband was there for the first time, and he almost got trampled on by a set piece,
Oh
but he
no,
figured it out. That was the first preview.
he survived. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question is, not all audience members party alongside you. Some theater goers are seated in the mezzanine. As performers in a non proscenium theater, how do you ensure you're playing to everyone?
I feel like I learned this really early on doing theater in the round, thanks grad school, and thanks also like the gazillion theater Shakespeare festivals that I did that were like in the Thrust Theater, doing King and I at Lincoln Center in the Vivian Beaumont, which was, the Thrust Theater makes you have to perform to everyone is around you.
Mhm.
I mean, you do have like a back wall, but you're put out in front. So, I mean, I think doing that, like doing those shows kind of just, and also Alex and Annie B's staging, they make sure that you're facing everyone and that everyone gets the story told to them.
Yeah, throughout the preview process, a lot of things evolved, even with the staging, to make sure that everyone feels included in the story. So even though it is a very immersive piece where people who are standing on the dance floor feel like you're right in the middle of the action, we still want everyone, even if you're seated in traditional seats, to feel enveloped in the story. So we
Hmm.
have kind of jumbotron screens for people who are seated a little further back in the mezzanine, so they actually get a perspective that people on the floor don't get, which is like close-up camera work of some of the actors on stage. Throughout previews, some of the numbers were restaged to play up to the mezzanine more. And for us, it can feel a little indulgent if you're just singing to the two people in like directly in front of you, or like I'm really connecting. But if you're just focused on the people right in front of you, then the people up in the seats are like, "Hey, what's going on down there?" you know. So we were always reminded to remember that if you include everyone all the way to the back, then everyone all the way up to you still feels included. But if you're only singing to the people in the first couple of rows, then the people in the back feel like they're outside looking in. So those were kind of the things that we were focusing on too.
Yeah, when you said about when during previews them restaging, I remember Alex coming up and being like, "Hey, we've got a big idea. Hey, we've got a big idea." And they were like one of my numbers in the middle of the show, fabulous one. He's like, "Why don't you start that in the mezz?" And I'm like, "How am I going to get down to the stage?" Some way we figured out a way for me to, be up in the mezzanine, and then I fly down those stairs, and then I'm on the stage within the span of one number.
Yeah, you were preaching to the entire space. And it's
Yeah,
it's thrilling though. It's so
I think
exciting.
I was skeptical, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is better.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Here Lies Love started as a 2010 concept album by David Byrne and Fatboy Slim. So what's it like collaborating with pop rock icons on a theatrical piece?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I just remember throughout the process, this is a new endeavor for David, creating a theatrical piece in this way. He's always had a sense of uh, theatrical, bravado in his concerts and how
Yeah.
he presents himself. He loves to include visuals in the work that he does. But writing a story that's not about him, that's not centered around him,
Mhm.
and creating a narrative was a new endeavor. But he does not shy away from the new and the unknown, which is really, really exciting, because there's always like a sense of kind of like, why not, let's figure this out, and discovery and exploration, which is so awesome. And to be in the room with him, and he was there every day. He was there all through previews when we were when we were even just like, having rough vocal days or something. He would sit in the green room at the public and make salabat, which is a Filipino ginger tea, for us. And he was just like, I'm making salabat, and you're like, this guy is a legend.
Yeah.
He's making us ginger tea. And Fatboy Slim, his contribution was with the concept album. So he wasn't there so much for the creative process of this show, but we got to meet him for the first time.
Yeah.
And he came to the show recently and did a 90-minute DJ set after the show. And
So
it
cool.
was phenomenal. It was mind blowing bananas.
David made himself so accessible to all of us if we had questions or if we had problems with anything. He was so easily available that it didn't. Yeah, there was. It didn't feel like we were working with this pop icon all of a sudden. We were just collaborating with somebody who was very much into collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the next question is, this is the first show in Broadway history to feature an all Filipino cast. What are your hopes for expanded representation on stage?
Oh, I was. It's. I hope that the representation extends into productions that are not just about, all Asian history, or like, I'd love to see Melody playing Lady Macbeth. um, I would love to like see the members of this cast being used in future productions that are not about uh, that are just non-traditional casting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And also, as important as this history is, it is a traumatic part of history for a lot of people, and it
mhm,
brings up a lot of really hard emotions to kind of to confront.
mhm.
um, and like you were saying, having the opportunity to tell this history is important. I feel this history is important to tell, but
Yeah,
also having the opportunity to explore the full breadth of our humanity. And when you see that in a show like this, where people get to see themselves on stage who didn't necessarily have that opportunity before, this is the first, not only all Filipino cast, it's the first Filipino story being told on Broadway.
mhm,
And that is incredible in itself. But you also want to believe that our humanity goes beyond that, and that we are able to tackle and explore roles that in the past have not been thought, like we have not been thought of
yeah,
for. So yeah, so I do hope that continues.
yeah.
Yeah. Your best Lea Salonga story, go.
Oh, I mean, talk about somebody who's an icon in our industry. I first table read of Allegiance in San Diego, and I was sitting next to her, and she was just so, again, nice and open and accessible, and it just was like, oh, okay. It made me feel like this is somebody that's ready to collaborate, and I don't need to think of them as an icon or be nervous about working with them.
Yeah.
She was so just put me at ease instantly, and besides being an incredible talent, like
Yeah.
yeah,
She's so down to earth.
yeah.
Yeah. What I And this is actually more about her and her child, her relationship with her child. But like when she brought her child to see the run through of
Mhm.
Here Lies Love for the first time, and we got to witness their reaction, and Leia then talked about how excited how excited they were, how many questions they had about the history, how they wanted to go into a deep dive and learn more. And you could see Leia just welling with pride, not only for being a part of the show, because she was incredible playing your mother in the show, but she's a producer, and so she also has so much passion and love and commitment for telling the story, and telling the story in a way that is provocative and exciting and inspiring for people to learn more, to go beyond their experience in the theater, and for to watch her react to her child's just mind opening up to the show and the history was pretty incredible. It was really wonderful to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that. I don't think that this show would be happening if she hadn't had the career that she has had and then came on board as a producer for the show. She's definitely a huge part of it.
Yeah. Do you want to do this one?
Oh, yeah. Okay. The next question is, what's the best deal you ever got at the TKTS booth, which just celebrated its 50th anniversary? This is right when I first came to New York.
Yeah.
Uh, oh gosh, what was the name of the show that Raul Esparza did, where he played the preacher? And
Oh, with uh, uh, it was a Steve Martin
yes,
movie too.
Leap of Faith.
Yes, yes, yes.
That was the deal I got, and I remember just like sitting, and I got a really good, like a good seat, so I got to see him up close, and I was just like, oh my gosh, just like let this master class just like wash over me. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Oh, I got tickets through TDF to see Bridges of Madison County.
Oh,
And that, I mean, I just fell in love with that show over and over again. I was so thrilled. I
Jason
got the
Marvel.
cast album. I listened to it over and over again. It was such an incredible experience.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah, thank you
awesome.
TDF, man.
Yeah, seriously. All right.
Last
Yeah,
question.
you.
Be each other's casting directors. What role would you put the other in?
Well, I already said
You
I think
did.
Lady Macbeth, you would be incredible. Any of Shakespeare's like queens, like I just think that uh you would just be incredible, like in any of those roles. I can
Oh,
think of some other ones, but like I would love to see you as Lady Macbeth.
oh,
Oh.
geez. Oh, goodness. That's a challenge. I love it. I would love to see you as George in Sunday in the Park with George. I
Oh.
think it's like you feel so deeply, and I love to see you dive into like meaty acting, roles that are so layered and so complex. And that's one that I think you would be incredible at. I also think like down the line, like, you're too young for right now, but I think you would make a great Bruce Bechtel in Fun Home.
Oh my gosh.
Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
just the
Totally.
tortured, like just that internal just combustion of emotion.
Yeah.
I think those kinds of roles I would just love to see you tackle, because I know the incredible capacity for depth and feeling that you have.
Oh my gosh. Well, I accept if you accept my role for you.
Yes, I accept. Oh my goodness.
No, thank you. This has been so great.
I know. Thank you so much. My
Yeah.
goodness. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah, thank you everybody at TDF, and thank you
Woohoo.
for letting me. It's so funny how like we do a show together every night, but we don't get to like hang out that much.
We hardly see each other.
I
Also,
know.
his dressing room is on the other side of the theater. We
I
keep saying like, "Oh,
know.
we need to like hang out and have dinner sometime," and this is like our hangout time that we haven't had yet.
You're always on
Oh my goodness.
Bucharest.
I
Bucharest.
know. I know.